Hello everyone, drum tech drummer and YouTube educator Kenny Sharretts coming to you with the third installment of my series on how to get a great acoustic gig drum sound. Now, the first series I talked about low tunings on the snare and some different implements you could use in the second series. And in the first series I also talked about one of the things we're going to talk about today, which is tuning your toms low. But I didn't go that deep into it, so I wanted to make sure I talked about the toms being tuned low and in a musical fashion and what interval you might want to try so you can play the drums during a gig without getting too big a sound, because as we get back to playing, y'all, I know here in Austin some of the gigs are full steam, but some of them are not. The little restaurant gigs or patio gigs or backyard gigs or smaller gigs where you want to bring your kit, but you don't want to blow people out, man. You want to actually be able to play in front of somebody eating dinner and not like make waves in their queso with your hi-hat or your snare sound where they're every time they try to bite a chip, man. You just don't want that. You want it, but you also want to be able to play your drums. So the first tip we're going to talk about today is having toms tuned low. Now I have these toms tuned to a major third and a major third. That is the interval I use because it is warm and embracing. It's got a decent amount of attack, but not too much of attack. It's kind of a smoother sound, a warmer sound. So when you play it with a pair of sticks, usually a skinny set of sticks, you don't get a rickety-tickety sound, you get a warm sound. And it makes it really easy to play soft, so you can kind of just get a groove on and not really worry about too much. Now, the beautiful thing about low tom tunings, and probably even more so than sticks, is how it responds to like rods and broomsticks and these things I like to use. Like one of my favorite combos for an acoustic gig is a Pro Mark hot rod, just a standard hot rod, and one of their medium-sized broomsticks, because this gets a real fat backbeat on a fat tuned snare, but still sounds pretty good on a tom. Now you can see how this perfect fourth sounds great together, man. It's nice and musical, you know. But unlike a lot of times when you have your toms tuned high, these aren't as rickety-tickety on the drum heads. You get the warmth of the drum, and I can play it comfortably. Now, as far as the tunings I used, I'm gonna have a video where I actually go through how to tune these UV2s all the way through a whole bunch of ranges. But these are 2-ply heads that I'm working here. So if you're a 2-ply person and you don't want to like take off heads for an acoustic gig, this is a great way to get around it. Just tune them fat and low and they still respond well to these. Again, and like I said, a major third. Now these are tuned a perfect fourth apart. And by major third, of course, again, I mean tonic, major third above, like do, re, mi, re, do. And these are actually tuned as low as you can go, which is different for everybody's drums. Some drums can go super, super low, some can't. So I don't want to give you an arbitrary idea of what's the lowest a drum can go. As low as your drum can go, you want to start there, take the pitch of that top head, and tune the bottom head up a major third. Do, re, mi, re, do. Same with the floor tom. Do, re, mi, re, do. That way you got a nice set of tones that are nice and warm and easy to play. And so I'm going to play with a couple of different combinations so you can kind of hear it and feel it and check it out and see how these toms work with different sets of like rods and sticks and rod combinations that you would use on an acoustic gig that help you get great tom sounds without blowing the room out, y'all. So let's get to some drumming. All right, so you got to see some examples of how these tom tunings can enhance the sound of the implements that you normally like to use in an acoustic gig. Like I said, again, hot rods and broomsticks and some of the different products from different companies. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about today in this video, since I want to just make it quick and to the point, these are just some tips and stuff, is using quiet cymbals on your gigs. Now, I noticed a lot of drummers starting to do like setups with mesh drum heads and quiet cymbals for practice, and I did a couple of videos on it. But then I noticed a lot of drummers were actually trying to take those gigs out using some of the settings on this Yamaha EAD where they have like the low volume kits, and they wanted to take these low volume cymbals out and be able to play a drum set gig at a dinner theater or at a little dinner gigs, have a full kit and keep it low volume. And I thought it was a great idea, so I've been kind of experimenting it, because the cymbals I picked up at NAMM this year, these Kaza quiet on the set cymbals, man, are absolutely phenomenal sounding and feeling cymbals, which is why I picked them up, and coincidentally they're working great. Now I just wanted to show you this because, I mean, I love the cymbals. I actually use them and make me happy. But one of the things you can notice with some of these quiet cymbals, they sound pretty darn good. You can get a crisp articulation of the stick. You get a nice open sound. And you get a nice chick with the hi-hat. And the best part is you get a nice sizzle. So on an acoustic groove, even with sticks, when you want to be quiet, you could be all... Now, the ride cymbal has a similar vibe to it, where it's really comfortable to play and actually kind of sounds like a good ride cymbal. You know, it's got a nice ting to it. It's got a nice rebounded feel to where I can feel comfortable playing this in an acoustic gig. Nice bell sound. And so I wouldn't mind taking either of these out on acoustic gigs and playing like really low volumes, especially because they sound pretty good with these rods, which we're about to check out. Now we get to the last step, which is crashes. Now these kinds of crashes actually sound great. Flashy, quiet, they're not like huge sounding crashes, but again, at a little dinner set, if you just need a ting, these actually have a nice splash and give the impression of cymbals. And the best part is about these is that I've actually noticed is they actually sound pretty darn good hit with these. So with a set of rods, you can actually smack them and get a crash sound out of them that's pretty darn nice. So if I'm sitting here using a set of rods combinations like these Sharretts, I can actually play a groove that's pretty solid. And so you can kind of find textures within these rigs that allow you to get good sounds on an acoustic gig without overwhelming a room. Now I will say with my cajon gig, these hi-hats will definitely actually be something I bring out on a gig. And for a couple of the gigs where I play at a really small bar, I've got to try this, I've got to take it out. But I've seen drummers do it, and so I just wanted to give you an example of some things. And now I'm going to play with a few different instruments or implements, but I'm going to actually put up a different crash. I'm going to go ahead and put up one of these crashes, which is another crash I can recommend for acoustic gigs like this A Zildjian EFX, because it's got holes in it. So it's quieter, it's not quite as overwhelming. So I could just drop one of these up on here, use it within context, so I have a quieter crash, a bigger crash, and I actually have dynamics and textures on my drum set. And I like dynamics and textures. Just put a little cloud of cymbal over here, maybe a little mountain of other kind of cymbal over here, you know. Get all Bob Ross with it, y'all. Come on. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play some with this, man, and just show you, again, with acoustic setting, lighter cymbals, you can get away with a lot, y'all. But again, with different implements and these lower tunings and of course possibly quieter cymbals or at least a better cymbal selection, you can craft a kit that is ready to rock just about any acoustic gig, any restaurant gig that doesn't overwhelm the listeners, doesn't overwhelm your bandmates, but is a blast to play, sounds great for you. You can actually hit it, y'all. So please, if you can, take some time to check out more videos on my YouTube channel, YouTube, Kenny Shares, drum tuning, drum tech tips, product review tips, and demonstrations that help you become a better drummer, a better performer, and have a better sounding kit, y'all. Solid.